How's it, man? Okay, first thing is I'm not buttering it up here because of tomorrow or anything. Okay, that's just where the game is, and even statistically where the game is. So overall, obviously everything looking good. I felt like your routine and freedom was a lot better today as well. The tee shots with the better alignment and obviously taking the club away online, the dispersion is way in, and you're just you're setting up one line, you're swinging on line. So it looks a hell of a lot better. And then obviously, generally speaking, releasing that flexion very nicely. Okay, so that's good. The forehand that cost you a couple of shots is just a little bit of a slide. So that left tip goes a little in, drop it a little under the plane and open. Okay, and then as you release it, obviously it shuts down, so you just attack the ball a little bit like that, and you get that little bit of side spin going on. And that's what costs you that. So just work really hard with that forehand to maintain that posture and hit the back of the golf ball. Okay, don't get yourself inside and then releasing it hard and getting that little bit of side spin. But other than that, I thought it was great. Just the tee shot on 14 took a little outside the line, caught him on the heel, and obviously got punished for that. Didn't have a lot of luck. Your margins were right on the edge in terms of 18, 14, and there were a couple others where, on another day, probably could have been 2 shots less off the tee. So happy there. Iron shots pretty much the same, very good. Obviously, some of the ones where you hit the draw I really like because obviously it squares everything up and it tells me that you're confident to release the club. So nothing terrible, but just didn't hit anything close. So a couple of bad ones, and that's fine in a round of golf, but then didn't make up for it by hitting anything close. Okay, so just got to be dialing that proximity, match your shape of your shot and your distance a little bit better, and just hit a couple close, and those steps will sort themselves out. Wedges are very much the same thing. No real bad wedges. Maybe the one on 5, but you got away with it. But again, didn't hit anything close. Hit a lot of your wedges to sort of 10 to 15, 18 foot, and then 2 putter further. Didn't really hit anything close. The one-on-one was a decent start. Obviously, hold the putt, but then from there, not really. Okay. Slight tendency the wedges to be on the shorter side, so you missed a few short. So just keep an eye on that. But basically, with those wedges, let's try simplify. Aim as straight as possible. Hit this thing as straight as possible. And keep that face as straight as possible. Okay, so I want you to do a little bit of the Gretzky draw with the wedges. So obviously for you, other way around, left palm, open that right palm, keep that face real square through the tongue area, chest nicely over the golf ball, and just hit them as straight as possible. Okay, short game, I think strike and confidence and setup has improved a lot. You lost a couple of shots on the short game, but mostly because you said tough short game shot. So, the up and down on 8 was fantastic. Up and down on 6 was really good as well. Maybe a soft one on 5, but then you had a couple of really tough ones from the back of 3, that type of thing. Just tough. So although you were only 50% for up and downs, it's just mostly because of the difficulty of the shot. 9 from that bunker, it's just a tough up and down. So overall, short game is good, just obviously leaving yourself not in great places there when you did hit the bad iron shot. And then putting, okay, once again, good. I think that's where we can find iron play, find a couple of shots there, get a couple of really good shots, and then I think we can also find a couple of shots with putting. We gained a few, but then we also gave them back a little bit. Thought you were quite good from sort of 4 to 8 foot, all that really nicely. And then did manage to can a long one on 30, and then kind of gave it back on 15. So, and then a couple that you just left a little bit weak, short in the jaws or running out of speed. So just a little bit there with the speed control that we can actually look to get that into the actually gaining shots with the putter. Okay. For me, it's a little bit of the strike. I think the strike's a little bit inconsistent. I really look at the one on 17, I really felt like he struck that one nicely. Obviously we know the one on 11, we discussed that one up the heel, but it's just some that you look like you just miss-hit them a little bit high on the ball, and maybe they're bouncing around a little bit. So just work really hard on your strike. The alignment has improved. The one that kind of counted that maybe annoyed you a little bit on 15, I don't know if you just a read or alignment, but you just went a little bit outside the hole, and there was just a right edge putt, and you kind of aimed at one ball right. So you really had to dial in on that place, or you were aiming too far right and you weren't quite aware of it. Okay, so just keep an eye on that, but mostly the alignment has improved. The ball is starting on the line way more often. You're not pushing it on the line, aiming right and pushing it. But the strike can definitely be better. So work really, really, really hard on that strike with the putting. Otherwise, mate, really, really good. Okay, really solid stuff. I would expect you to do pretty well. A little bit of luck and a little bit of confidence and a little bit of close approach shots, and you should be able to shoot under par around Glendower.